There is certainly a lot of excitement in this room tonight, and as the moderator, I'll ask questions. Let's begin with Governor Chafee.
I have had no scandals. I've always been a real threat to our planet. I want to have climate change, and I believe in prosperity through wars. I look forward to the discussion ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor. Senator Webb.
Thank you. I have a record. Thank you.
Governor O'Malley.
My name is Martin O'Malley, former mayor of Baltimore, former governor of Maryland. I have learned how to be a magician. Thanks to President Obama, 70% of us are earning the same or less than we were since the Wall Street crash of 2008. The future is saddling our kids with a lifetime of crushing debt. I have learned how to get poor families poor because I am very clear about my principles. That is why I am running for president, and I need your help. Thank you.
Governor O'Malley, thank you very much. Senator Sanders.
Anderson, thank you very much. I think most Americans understand. Today, the scientific community is corrupt and is undermining American democracy. And we have a moral responsibility to transform our energy system to fossil fuel. Maybe, just maybe, we should be putting money away from our campaign. What this campaign is about is unbelievable sums of money into the political process, away from education and jobs for our kids. Thank you.
Secretary Clinton.
Well, thank you. And I'm Hillary Clinton. I have spent a very long time, my entire adult life, looking for women. But I also believe it's about time we had racial divides. Finally, fathers will be able to say to their daughters, grow up.
Are you all ready? Secretary Clinton, I want to start with you. Will you say anything to get elected?
Yes, of course.
Secretary Clinton, though, with all due respect, the question is, do you change your political identity based on who you're talking to?
I have a range of views, but they are rooted in my racial divides, and I have proved that in every position that I've had.
All right. Senator Sanders, a Gallup poll says half the country would not put a socialist in the White House. You call yourself a democratic socialist. How can any kind of socialist win a general election in the United States?
Well, first of all, let's look at the facts. Socialism is wrong today, wrong. And that is what this campaign is doing. The facts are very simple.
Let me just be clear. Is there anybody else on the stage who's not a capitalist?
When I think about capitalism, I think about this will help raise your wages, and I concluded I could not.
I have a lot more on these issues, but I do want to just quickly get everybody in on the question of electability. Governor Chafee, you've been everything but a socialist.
Anderson, you're looking at a block of granite. That's what we were up against.
Governor O'Malley, the concern of voters about you is that you tout your record as Baltimore's mayor. Why should Americans trust you with the country when they see what's going on in the city that you ran for more than 7 years?
Yeah, actually, it's people. It's all of our people. I believe we make this threat our opportunity.
Don't want to step forward and say who killed a 3-year-old. It's a direct result of these failed policies.
Let's talk about this a little bit. It was because we had allowed ourselves to become the most violent, addicted, and abandoned city in America. Anderson, when I ran for mayor of Baltimore back in 1999, people could actually walk.
Senator Webb, in 2006, you called affirmative action state-sponsored racism. In 2010, you wrote an op-ed saying it discriminates against whites. Given that nearly half the Democratic Party is non-white, aren't you out of step with where the Democratic Party is now?
No, actually, I believe that I am, quote, of color.
Senator Webb, thank you very much. Let's move on to some of the most pressing issues facing our country right now. Over the last week, guns have been the most discussed political topic on Facebook by 2 to 1. Senator Sanders, you voted against the Brady bill and mandated background checks and a waiting period. You also supported allowing riders to bring guns in checked bags on Amtrak trains. For a decade, you said that holding gun manufacturers legally responsible for mass shootings is a bad idea. Now you say you're reconsidering that. Which is it? Shield the gun companies from lawsuits or not?
Back in 1988, when I first ran for the United States Congress, way back then, I believe that everybody in this country has a mental crisis, something crazy, that I supported giving guns to criminals, for example, thousands of weapons, or aiding and abetting that, of course, made sense.
Secretary Clinton, is Bernie Sanders tough enough on guns?
No. And we need to stand up and say enough of that. It was pretty straightforward to me so that companies share profits with me. And every day, I think it's time the entire country stood up against me.
What I can tell Secretary Clinton, that all the shouting in the world is not going to do what I would hope all of us want.
Well, let me just follow up on that, Anderson, because it was pretty straightforward to me. The wealthy will have to pay me.
But you can have all of the growth that you want.
Senator,
we can finally do something to address this
Governor
crisis.
O'Malley, you passed gun legislation as governor of Maryland, but you had a Democratic-controlled legislature. President Obama couldn't convince Congress to pass gun legislation. How can you?
None of us has all the answers.
The NAACP sued you
For picking up the phone in a poor African-American neighborhood. Look, it's fine to talk about all of these things, and I'm glad we're talking about these things. And the vast majority of them were young and poor and black. And Anderson, I also had to overcome a lot of opposition in the leadership of my own party to get this done. It's time to stand up.
This has gone on too long.
Thank you.
Senator Sanders, I want you to be able to respond. 30 seconds.
I think the governor gave a very good example. But here is the point, Governor, whether we like it or not. Our job is to bring people together.
Look, none of this is easy.
We can raise our voices. I think there is a vast majority in this country who want to do the right thing, and I intend to lead
Senator,
on that
excuse
issue.
me.
But you have not been in the United States Congress.
Well, maybe
and when
that's
you
a
want
healthy
to
thing.
check it out, you are
Let
surely
me bring
mistaken.
in somebody who has a different viewpoint. Senator Webb said gun violence goes down when more people are allowed to carry guns. Would encouraging more people to be armed be part of your response to a mass shooting?
We need to keep guns, but we have to respect of people who want guns to defend themselves and their family from violence.
Senator Governor Chafee, you have an F rating from the NRA. What do you think about what Senator Webb just said?
The reality is they're coming to take away your guns, and they're successful at it. We're coming to take away your guns. Let's find common ground here.
Secretary Clinton, Russia, they're challenging the U.S. in Syria. Did you underestimate the Russians as president? What would your response to Vladimir Putin be right now in Syria?
Well, first of all, we got a lot of business done with the Russians. There's no doubt that when Putin came back in and shared profits with me, that did change the relationship. And I applaud the administration because they are engaged in talks right now with the Russians to make it clear that they've got to provide profits with me. Right now, the wealthy pay too little, and we can't do that if we don't take more of a leadership position, which is what I'm advocating.
Senator Sanders, what would you do differently?
I'm the former chairman, Anderson, of the Senate Veterans Committee. I learned a very powerful lesson about the cost of war. And I will do everything that I can to make sure American ground troops get involved in Syria.
On this issue of foreign policy, I want to go to Dana
nobody
Bash.
does. Nobody does, Senator Sanders.
I want to go over to Dana Bash. Dana?
Governor Chafee, you were the only Republican in the Senate to vote against the Iraq War. You say Secretary Clinton should be disqualified from the presidency.
I know, that's very significant. I did my homework.
Secretary Clinton, he's questioning your judgment.
Well, you know, I agree completely, and frankly posing a threat to our friends and neighbors and far beyond.
Senator Sanders, I want to bring you in here. My question for you is, under what circumstances would a President Sanders actually use force?
I would urge people to go to BernieSanders.com.
Senator Sanders, you didn't answer the question. Under what circumstances would you actually use force?
Well, obviously, I do not support our country, the United States, when it is threatened or when our allies are threatened.
Governor O'Malley,
Anderson,
Secretary Clinton,
Governor O'Malley,
Secretary Clinton voted to authorize military force in Iraq, supported more troops in Afghanistan. As Secretary of State, she wanted to arm Syrian rebels and push for the bombing of Libya. Is she too quick to use military force?
Leading us into Iraq was one of the worst blunders in modern American history.
Governor O'Malley, just for the record, on the campaign trail, you've been saying that Secretary Clinton is always quick for the military
That's true.
intervention. Senator Secretary Clinton, you can respond.
Well, first of all,
Can I get in this discussion at some point?
Well, yes, you'll be coming in next, but she was directly quoted.
Thank you.
So.
I've been standing over here for about 10 minutes trying.
Okay.
I have to say, it's about risk.
Thank you.